Jazz for the, I figured I could look at my watch to get this instead of peering over there, and then that didn't work either. 26th of November. I'll figure it out. It is the Jazz and the New Orleans Pelicans tonight, so we'll take a look at that one. Look back at the OKC game. Some standings notes, some lineup notes, some interesting new stat notes on the day after Thanksgiving with my voice cracking as well. Oh, it is Locked On Jazz. Pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and hit the bell that notifies you. Appreciate it if you do that. If you're on any of the other places, a review is always welcome. Wow, good morning to Nathan and Prelo and TJ and Jeff and JJ and Bryce and Hunover? I don't know how to pronounce that. Glad to have you aboard. I'm a little surprised anyone's on this morning. I'm not all here. I'm not going to lie to you. I got like 8-9 hours sleep, which I don't usually get. I flew solo yesterday. My wife and daughter are in California, and then my son is training in Maine with his college team for skiing. So I flew solo yesterday, so I went skiing for the first day all year, Alta. I had this kind of fun grand plan. This is nothing to do with the show. I'm just sharing. We're just together. It's Friendsgiving the day after on Black Friday. And so I had this grand plan, and this grand plan was that I was going to go to Alta and take 2 runs. And then when that sucked, I was going to go to Solitude and take 2 runs and get my pass straightened out there, and then come back to Park City and take 2 runs and just have a kind of fun day and make sure all my passes were working and just to, check on all the mountains. And I have a pass everywhere. So that's my luxuries in life are, I'll stay. I don't need them. Like we'll stay in, whatever hotel. But I need ski passes at every mountain. That's my luxury in life. And so I have them. And so I got to Alta. It was good. Like stunningly good. Like really, really good. So I just stayed at Alta all day. Not all day. I got there at probably 11 and skied till 3, and I can't move this morning. And my regular routine is I get up, do some stretching, maybe some meditation, maybe, and then which I should do every day. And then I do the show, and then I run to the gym from 8:30 to 9:30 at this place down the street called Athletic Republic. I'm really meandering all over the place this morning. And then I had to shoot around at 10. And I got up this morning with the intention of doing that. And I telemark ski. And I'm really fucking old. And now I'm talking about stuff none of you understand. But telemark skiing is where my heels are not attached. So my turns are a lunge turn every single time. And I took like 8 or 9 runs yesterday. And I was in some decent stuff. Like it was really good skiing. And I can't move this morning. So we'll see if I make it to the gym. I can tell my brain's not quite working. I can look at myself on the screen and say I look like shit. And so anyway, let's get to it. Jazz, it's kind of funky because we didn't do a show yesterday. So let's go backwards and then we'll go to tonight's game. And then I'm reading Seth Partnow's book, and we're going to geek out because anyone who's listening to this Friday show while everyone's shopping and they have their headphones in and they're listening to the show today, I will tell you that I figure you're a geek, so you'll appreciate it. We're going to get into it. It's really the Seth Partnow book's pretty good. Seth Partnow is a longtime stats guy, and he wrote a book called The Mid-Range Theory, and it's got stats, and it's the first kind of stats book I've read in the NBA where I'm actually learning things. So I want to share with you what I've learned. But let's first kind of run through the other night against Oklahoma City, because I actually thought there were a bunch of things that were wildly interesting, and then there's some things that are still kind of, we have the same bugaboos that are just floating here. So Quin Snyder's feeling, talking to him on the plane after the game and in his press conference, was that the first quarter was the best ball movement that the Jazz have had all season long. And that's a really interesting comment. And it leads to kind of some comments or to one of the kind of ideas that was being, presented by Seth, which is the idea that assists are somewhat misleading and potential assists are actually a better number, which I'll get to. But if you look at the game, we do throw 300 passes again. We do have multiple players with double-figure assists in this game. So there is something maybe to it. The first quarter of the game, the Jazz offensive rating was only an 80. And here's the head coach saying, this was the best quarter we've had all year. We went 3 of 16 from 3 in the quarter. Quin's comment after the game was, should have been up 20. You look at our shot chart, and we got 7 corner threes in the first quarter, which is just a ton. We missed all 5 of them on the right corner. We actually didn't make a corner 3 from the right corner all day, and we made 2. Clarkson made 1. Jordan's getting back closer to normal, by the way, and Mike Conley made 1 who's been just incredible. And then our above the break 3, we went 1 of 8. So really interesting. And again, we assisted on 5 of our 9 buckets, but I have a sneaking suspicion that when you kind of look at this game, there's some other things to look at. Royce had 3 steals. We were down 25-21. And to Quin's point, and this is where head coaches, bring good perspective that we don't think of, their defensive rating was 100 while not hitting any shots. And we've always said, if the Jazz can have a quarter, they'll win of 100 or lower, they'll win most of the time. If they have 2, they'll always win. That's something we always talk about when we look at this together. Second quarter, suddenly the Jazz still don't really click in. Their offensive rating's 108. Their defensive rating's 104. Third quarter, now all of a sudden this becomes an offensive game, and we have a 123 to their 108. We're not getting stops the way we really want at this point. They're just driving to the basket on us time and time again, spreading us out and driving. But on the other hand, they're not having an outrageously great day. And we finished with a 132 in the fourth quarter when we stretch it out a little bit and take control, and Donovan makes the big plays late. It's a 132 to a 109. It wasn't, we want to roll over a team like that. I get it. And we finished the night with an offensive rating of a 110, which is not good for us, but a defensive rating of 105. And really what it gets down to in this game against Oklahoma City is we did all of the things we haven't been doing, right? So our defensive rebounding rate was an 85%. Okay. So if we allow 1 or 2 more offensive rebounds, we could have lost. Our turnover rate was down a great deal in this game. And we did a much better job in transition defense as well. The little thing that kind of jumped out that was concerning in this game was, and Oklahoma City drives more than any team in the league. If you were listening to our radio broadcast, you got this. So they actually had done a drive, like to the basket, not like take a drive, 100 times more than the next closest team in the league, which is just kind of a stunning number. And so they about 10 more times than anyone else in the league. They just swing it around the outside, and then whoever can find a crack just goes. It's kind of not great for us because particularly when they're playing 5 out, you're moving Rudy. We're just not terrific at guarding our yard. We're small, and so we don't cover a lot of space. So those cracks look bigger, and they did it well and caused us some problems. Our half-court defense by the end of the night was down to a 95, which is a little above league average. We're just way better than league average. Our defense in the half court is ranked as the 3rd best. So that's a bad defensive night for us. That's what was positive, though, is we kept 89% of their possessions. League average is generally around 80. So 89% instead of 80 in the half court. We really eliminated the amount of transition they got in that game. And then when they were in transition, they weren't great at it. So the areas where we have struggled the most recently, we did a really, really nice job. And so I thought that was an advantage. Some of the numbers are crazy. So they ran 110 picks and had 70 drives. the data does not show that they beat us up nearly as much as it feels. This is something that keeps happening, frankly. And this is probably representative of myself and my expectations for the team and your expectations. I keep feeling things during the game and then looking at them afterwards, and they're not as bad as I think they are, if that makes sense. Now, our pick and roll defense was not very good that night, so that might have been it instead. And they might have been determining some things I thought were drives as pick and roll. But there have been multiple occasions here where I'm watching a game, see something, think I'm right, and then I think you get into that stereotype where you begin to only see what you think is going wrong. Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert were dominant, unbelievable. Lou Dort off a pulling bit on a popping big was something we couldn't handle in that game. Donovan had a hard time guarding Lou Dort's size. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl had a good game. He would pop out for the three. Rudy wouldn't be there. So we saw all things. All right. So that's kind of the overriding of that game. My overall take is it wasn't great. It was a win. We needed it. But if I think when the head coach suddenly says, hey, wait a sec, that's the best ball movement we've had in a while. And you're suddenly improved on the three areas in which you've been struggling. And it is a pretty mundane game. I know that's no fun for fans to hear, but and I would say that loss to Memphis stung. I've rarely been around a team that I thought was as openly bothered and still bothered by a regular season game days later. There was a hangover on that. So we'll see. All right. We'll take some of your questions. One of them is thoughts on Josh Giddy. I will give that to you in a second. And I'll give you a bigger thought on Oklahoma City. I'll share that I have on what's going on there as well. This is Locked On Jazz. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz the first listen of your day. Locked On Bets might be a great spot to start for your second listen. Locked On NBA is fabulous as well. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai. The guys down at Murdoch have done a great job. As we've talked about, Blake has been truly remarkable in his commitment to the community that they will not charge more than MSRP on any vehicles. Car shortage has been a real issue, and it's been really hard to get inventory. The Hyundai factories have had some luck recently, so let me give you the latest on what's going on there, because there are some incoming cars. Here was as of last Friday. There were 11 Elantras coming in and 5 were available on site. This was as of last Friday. Sonata, which I'm driving right now, it's really a beautiful sedan. You don't need more. It's got great every bell, every whistle, drives beautifully, decently priced. 8 incoming, 3 are available. Tucson's, kind of the mid-sized Tucson SUV, great price on it. All the safety features. They have 13 available with 34 coming in. The Tucson hybrids are there as well. The Santa Fe's, which we own 2 of, about 1 for each kid, frankly, because we saw what terrible drivers they are. So we need every safety feature imaginable. They have 21 available. And then the Palisade, which has been impossible to get, they finally have 20. So great time to trade in your used car and get a new one that's been so hard to get. Feel free to email me first at dlock09@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up over at Murdoch Hyundai. All right, the question came in, what do I think of Josh Giddy? I thought he was super good the other night. Now it's interesting. They've really, without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he just had the ball in his hands all night, which is quite a task for a young player. And I thought he handled it really, really well. He's got great control of the ball. He knows where he's trying to go to on the floor. We play a non-pressure style defense, so it was probably a pretty good matchup for him. I actually think they might have been in some ways better without SGA that night, only because of the fact that he's so willing to shoot. He's not a great shooter, and then he hit 3 threes late, which is, great for him, but probably not a model right now. From the few little, areas of concern. So he's not an elite athlete. You could see it. He'd get in the paint. He'd stop. Never took a free throw. 15 shots without a free throw attempt is a lot. Frankly, Donovan's 16 without a free throw is a lot. So that was kind of one. The league doesn't like free throws. We'll talk about this in a little bit. So the 7 rebounds, the 8 assists, his size, being able to move it. He's going to be just a really, really good NBA player. I don't think he's like a 1 I think he's a complementary piece to them. I have great doubts of whether what Oklahoma City and what Houston are doing works. In fact, I don't think it does. And that is compiling all of these draft picks and then trying to have them all rise up at the same time. Two problems with it. One is you have to pay them all at the same time before they're really ready. And then two, the other significant problem with it is, frankly, you just can't find any team in the history of the league who have young stars coming up at the same time that don't have chemistry issues. Like, it just happens. It's reality. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, LaMarcus Aldridge, Damian Lillard, Shaq Kobe, Penny Shaq, right? Like, at that stage of your career, it's almost impossible to not have some sort. Now, you just acquire talent and then you start training it for other pieces. And I guess that's the long range game. But it's interesting. I almost like what Detroit's doing better, which is they got Cade Cunningham. They're terrible again this year. They get another pick. And then they'll have $40, $50 million of cap space and can sign one or two players and try to accelerate it a little bit. So we'll see. All right, before we get to this was actually one of the things I had on my show today. So Michael says, we're coming up on 20 games played. Do you think the first 20 will be a good predictor for final playoff seeding, or is this year weird? I actually think that it's unbelievable indicator of playoff standings. Let me see if I can, let's share a screen. Let's see. I think I just shared my own screen, and now I think I've shared this screen. So in the East, Brooklyn is 1, Miami is 2, Chicago's 3, Washington's 4, Charlotte's 5, Milwaukee's 6. Milwaukee will probably be 4 by the time we get to the next game, which will be the 20th game. Then New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Boston, Cleveland, Toronto, Indiana. If we look at these, like the top 6, I assume Joel Embiid gets healthy and Philadelphia gets in there. And otherwise, I think that's set. Maybe the Knicks get in there. Maybe Atlanta. They've won 6 straight. They warm it up enough to catch Charlotte. So Charlotte's good. Washington, that cools off a little bit, maybe. They do have they're doing some things really, really well. But that's pretty close. And then of these 4, Cleveland, Toronto, Indiana, Detroit, Orlando, I'm not sure who's knocking anyone out. I don't think New York, Philadelphia, Atlanta, or Boston's getting knocked out. So in Seth Partnow's book, he writes that 65 games is actually all you need, not 82, because it actually sets it. I actually think 20 sets it. This is really close. Now, in order, I suspect Milwaukee gets to 2, and then Philadelphia works their way up to some extent, but we'll see. So it's Brooklyn. My guess is Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Miami, Philadelphia. Kyle Lowry's not playing well. That would be concerning if I'm Miami. Chicago, Washington, and then the next group would be Charlotte, and then the next group would be, and 76ers in here, so the next group is Charlotte, New York, Atlanta, Boston. And Atlanta probably moves their way up a little bit. Over in the West, holy smokes, I don't know if it changes at all. I really don't know if it changes at all. So the Warriors are right now bona fide. Hard to quibble with what they're doing. They are completely bona fide. You can't see my screen, you're telling me. Well, it says to stop sharing screen, and let me try one thing. Let's see if I can. All right, stop sharing screen, share screen, tab. Oh, here we go. I'll bet it works now. Do you have it? Yep, it says stop sharing. All right, so you have it. So we did the East. We talked it through. Here's on YouTube. You can see the screen on the Warriors, Phoenix, Utah, Dallas. The great question was what Jason Kidd was going to do, but I had them as the number, I had them as charted as one of the top teams. The Clippers at 5, Portland at 6. I think that's the list. And the Lakers should catch up here at some point, but I'm not totally convinced of it. All right, they still say you can't see the screen. So at some point, this is ridiculous, and I can't figure out how to get YouTube to work or get Restream to work. But the standings are Golden State, Phoenix, Utah, Dallas, Clippers, Portland, Memphis, Minnesota, Lakers, Denver. Denver's so injured at this point with Jamal, with Michael Porter, with PJ Dozier. The Lakers are not good. Now, do they become good? Maybe, but they're not good right now. Let's not kid ourselves about this. Minnesota is good. They've won 5 straight. They're playing really well. They're loaded offensively. They're actually playing defense. They could probably catch Portland. And Memphis is in there. And I think, they're exceeding expectations right now with where their roster is. I don't think this changes a great deal. Golden State 1, Phoenix 2, it's on 14 straight. Utah 3, Dallas 4. Their offense is amazing. With what Clippers 5, this is exactly what I said at the beginning of the year. I didn't think they'd struggle without Kawhi that great. They're obviously be better, but they're not going to be awful. Portland 6, they have the number 2 offense in the entire NBA right now. They had the number 1 offense after the trade last year. Memphis, Minnesota, Lakers, Denver. Barring injury, I don't think Memphis, Minnesota, Lakers, or Denver catch any of these teams. Maybe they catch Portland, but I'm not so certain. Like we talk about the Lakers, Portland's the number 2 offense in the league. They're 27th defensively, which is brutal. But the Lakers don't have anything that's as good as Portland's offense. So when you look at this and the way the standings are, Michael, yes, I think it's stunningly accurate right now to where things are. You guys have derailed me a little bit. We have a Donovan Mitchell hater troll on our chat room today. Like, why? Like their obsession is that Donovan turned the ball over in Game 7 in Denver. Yeah, okay, great. Tyler Tuckett has a great question from earlier this week. Are the Jazz having too many possessions? Is that a normal championship team problem, or is that unique to the Jazz? It's a common good team problem, but it is also a common good team derailer, if we're honest. If you look at Milwaukee, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday are their possession users, and then that championship team was able to have Brook Lopez has reduced over time and understood it. And then you have, frankly, you don't have a lot of other possession users. So they kind of found a way to do that. On the Lakers team, it was, it's LeBron, Anthony Davis, really dominant possession users, and then not a lot after that. So most championship teams have really, really top heavy possession users and then not a lot after that. And you've kind of found a way to make that work. Ours is a little bit more equally distributed. I mean, I'm stopping every game at the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter and looking at our shots. So 7 minutes left of the fourth quarter is usually a timeout. And I'll go just stop. I just look at that chart, and I think it's just a really interesting time to look at the game and see what our shot chart or how many shots have been distributed at that point. Because the game's going to close and Donovan's now going to take most of them the rest of the way. And so you kind of know with 7 minutes left where guys' shots are. And I just think it's a super interesting spot. In fact, let's just, we can do it from, I don't know if you know this, but NBA.com has a range filter. And so I can go to that mark. So if we go to just the 7-minute mark, there doesn't seem to have been a timeout there, and look at it for that game. So at that moment, Bojan had 12. He's probably fine with that. Donovan had 11. That was low. He was having a tough night. Clarkson had 10. That's low. He's cut his shots back the last few days. It's been nice. I think it's important. Then Rudy Gay had 8. You should have a rightful order of the basketball universe here right now where you kind of know what this is going to be. I'm not sure that Bojan, Donovan, Clarkson, actually it was Conley as at 9, Rudy Gay's at 8. That might be our new rightful order. Royce was at 7. Rudy Gobert was at 6. Ingles was at 6. Whiteside got ejected, so frankly, it made it a lot easier that night because he's not using possessions. And Eric Paschal in his 5 minutes, had only used 2. So this was, again, very evenly distributed across the board. 12 by Bojan, 11 by Donovan, 10 by Jordan. But Donovan and Jordan are way down on their shot attempts at that point of the night. 9 by Mike Conley, which is down a little. Rudy Gay at 8. Royce at 7. Rudy at 6. He probably doesn't love that. And so by the end of the night, Donovan's up to 16. Mike's up to 12. Bojan holds at 12. Jordan Clarkson's up to 12. Still pretty flat. Royce O'Neal's at 9 and Rudy Gay's at 8. And Rudy Gobert's at 7. Like that's That's guys all taking fewer possessions than they're used to using in a night. That's it right there. I mean, that really is the essence of it. Today's show is brought to you by betonline.ag. Exciting things going on this weekend. If you want to get involved with betonline.ag, football Thanksgiving. Hopefully you got in on it. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all sports action this Thanksgiving. Head to our new updated desktop mobile website. Sign up today. Receive a 50% welcome bonus with the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. Not just football, also pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, NBA. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing deals. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, we're stuffed with deals. No, they did that. They did. They went and did that. Line tonight for the Jazz against the 4-16 Pelicans is, let me see if I can pull it up. 4-16 Pelicans. Where are they? Big night. We're at 12.5-point faves tonight. They're actually not playing terribly. They've won 2 of their last 5. They seem to be kind of playing a little bit better than they were before. Today's show is also brought to you by Built Bar. Black Friday at Built Bar today. Make sure you jump in. Here's the deals. Locked 20. You get 20% off everything at Locked 20. A new flavor, Ruby Chocolate Puffs. Marshmallow goodness covered in unique chocolate, Ruby chocolate. It's never been done before with a Built Bar that's dark chocolate. There's white chocolate and now Ruby chocolate joins the Built Bar club. Ruby chocolate is beautiful rose color, perfect for the holidays. It's actual type of chocolate that has a berry taste to it. It's unique and delicious. They also have lemon dipped cheesecake puffs. If you love lemon cheesecake, you'll love the lemon cheesecake dipped cheesecake puffs. Tangy, taste of lemon, sweet cheesecake, and a marshmallow puff all covered in chocolate. And the new Built Bar Crave Bar. Built Bar weekend isn't complete without the word free. Buy any box of Builts through Sunday and get 2 of the brand new candy bars Built Crave for free. Built has finally done it. They've come up with a candy bar that's a great alternative to the bar that claims to satisfy. It's caramel flavored chocolate loaded with peanuts, giving it that nutty chocolate. So good. And Crave only has 160 calories with 17 grams of protein. Show me a candy bar, and that even comes close. It's all at built.com. Promo code's LOCKED20. All right. What else did I want to talk about? We have a lineup that's bad. And we talked about the other day. It was bad again the other day. So let's keep an eye on it. I just want to make sure, sample size on this one is not particularly big. So it's probably a little early for us to start totally worrying about it, but it is our second lineup that comes into the game every night, and it is struggling. So let me rephrase the way I said it. It's that it is not performing well. I'm not sure that it's bad, but Mike, it is Donovan Mitchell with Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, Hassan Whiteside. They are -8 per 100 possessions right now. That's really significant. They're not defensive rebounding well. They allow a 39% offensive rebounding rate. They only get 44% of all rebounds. And so they're really struggling. Overall, their defensive rating is a 115. Their offensive rating is a 106. Otherwise, almost every other lineup we throw out there in our regular rotation is great. Our starting lineup's +8. Our bench unit with Eric Paschal's +12. Our bench unit with Rudy Gay is like through the roof. Hassan Whiteside with Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, and Donovan Mitchell, which is our next kind of substitution in there, is +16. The first one, though, is when Joe Ingles and Hassan come in together, and that's where we really struggle. The Rudy Gay bench unit that links first to second quarters +31. Our starting lineup, or Joe Ingles in with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell that kind of links for a little bit, doesn't play a lot, but is +11. And otherwise, every other lineup that has our regular guys is +30, +4 is great. So we just have this one lineup that's causing us problems. It's worth keeping an eye on. All right, Seth Partnow in his book talks about some numbers I thought were really interesting and I wanted to share with you. So he talks about assists as really being a bad stat because you're trying to figure out the value of your player And so what you actually are really want is a stat that they do keep at NBA.com, which is called potential assists. And it's a much better number because that's really what you're looking to find. So Chris Paul leads the league at 19 potential assists, then James Harden at 18, Luka Doncic at 17, and Russell Westbrook at 16. But the actual number of assists is predicated on somebody making a shot. It's kind of an interesting. Most players are 2-1 on their assist to field goals made. A few are higher, which tells you that they're really then that's the next level. If you're high assist rate to your potential assist, you're really giving people great shots. So Trae Young has 16 potential assists a night, but 9 of them are actually assists. That's much higher than league average. So he's giving you the ball at a great spot. Ricky Rubio's the opposite. Ricky Rubio, for 14 potential assists, only has 6 assists a game. Either means his guys aren't shooting or he's really not giving you special shots. LaMelo Ball, 12.7 potential assists, 7 actual assists. So he's giving you the ball in some pretty special spots right there. So kind of an interesting way to look at it is rather than assists, but look at potential assists. Chris Paul, 18.5 potential assists, 10.4 assists. So he's really giving guys the ball in spots that are giving them an opportunity. For the Jazz, Mike Conley leads at 10 potential assists a night. Our rates are just about 2-1. Mike's a little higher. Donovan's 10 to 4.9. Joe is 7.7 potential assists to 3.3 assists. And Royce's 5 potential assists to 2. Jordan's 4.2 to 2. And Boyan's 3.2 to 1.8. So that's the first one. Potential assists as a way of timeout. The other one I thought was really interesting is he did a thing on rebounding. And he had a number that I forgot to write down, which is the percentage of rebounds that are uncontested. So that really anyone could get them. This is where Russell Westbrook's triple-double stuff is a little bit of a joke, is that there's just, you're able to, something like 75, 80% of rebounds are uncontested. So the guy who really matters is the guy who's leading the league in contested rebounds. These are rebounds that actually could go to the other team. So while Rudy Gobert leads the league in rebounding at 15.1, only 5.2 of his rebounds are contested. So his contested rebounding rate is 34.3, incredibly low. So that as much as Rudy's got big rebounding numbers, what Seth Partnow would say is that, you know what, the fact of the matter is, if he didn't get this rebound, somebody on the Jazz would get it anyway. Because of the fact that it's not being contested. The other team's gone back in defense. Nikola Jokic has 7 a night. Robert Williams, 6. Jonas Valanciunas is 3rd. We'll see him tonight, 5.6. Drummond, 5.4. Anthony Davis, 5.3. And Rudy at 5.2. Rebound chances is another way that they kind of look at this, which is percentage of rebound. And Rudy gets the highest percentage of available rebounds there. Now, that just could be that the team has learned Rudy's going to take every rebound and you let him do it. So this is an interesting way to kind of look at rebounding and whose rebounding value is actually at its peak and who gets contested rebounds, who's a good rebounder. You can also look at it, from our standpoint of contested rebounds a night. Rudy gets 5. Boyan Hassan gets 3. Rudy Gay is now 3rd on our team at 1.5. Boyan gets 1. Royce gets 1. Donovan gets 1. No surprise. Mike Conley, who does get some rebounds, doesn't get any contested rebounds. Jordan gets almost no contested rebounds. They're not big. So it's an interesting, different way to look at rebounding I really liked. He also had a better way to look at usage rate, and I'll try to run some numbers on that. And I thought that was really good. And that's, taking field goal attempts, free throw attempts, plus turnovers, plus assists. It's a good book. I'll dig into it some more for you as the week goes on. I'm going to continue to read it and share with you on that. All right, that is Locked On Jazz today. Have a great Thanksgiving. Hope you're doing well. Sorry for the rambling start. Just kind of a funky day.